A Trump administration policy intended to help military veteran business owners may be having unintended consequences on visually impaired Hoosiers. Adam Pinsker tells us why one organization is worried about losing some of its employees because of the law.
How you doing now?
Ray Montgomery's path to the Bosma Center began more than 20 years ago.
I lost my sight in 1997 at 17 years old due to a gunshot wound, which caused me to go totally blind.
Once he got back on his feet, finding a job that he could do with his disability was difficult.
Just because I had that degree and I went to college and did everything that I thought was necessary in order to find gainful employment, but just really dealing with those misperceptions of people who are blind.
But Bosma Enterprises is shattering those misperceptions by creating jobs and careers that work for the visually impaired.
We're coming up to our exam glove packaging room.
That includes warehousing and packaging products like exam gloves, medical kits, and salt.
Our whole role here is to provide employment for people who are blind or visually impaired. With a 70% unemployment rate, it's very difficult for people who are blind or visually impaired to find work.
But Bosma CEO Jeffrey Mittman is worried about a Veterans Administration policy known as the Rule of Two. It requires the government to award contracts to veteran-owned businesses before considering companies that are primarily owned by visually impaired people.
That would include contracts that we've held for 20, 30 years. Some of our agencies across the country have held for decades.
Mittman, an Army veteran who lost his sight when an improvised explosive device landed in his Humvee, says Bosma goes through the same process all other companies do when bidding on government contracts. In addition to providing jobs, Bosma also helps people with vision loss navigate their lives and jobs.
Without us, there's 800 Hoosiers in the state of Indiana who would not have, every year, who would not receive rehabilitation services for their vision loss.
He worries the VA policy may reduce or eliminate the 200 positions inside Bosma's sprawling North Indianapolis facility, including packaging, food service, and retail jobs.
It's important, as I said, that the visually impaired, like those who are trained at Bosma, continue to have opportunities to participate in our workforce.
Senator Todd Young and other members of Indiana's legislative delegation are working with the Trump administration to resolve the conflicts with the new policy.
Wouldn't anticipate any challenges that Bosma would experience in landing additional contracts.
But Bosma isn't taking any chances. The company says it's looking for contracts with private, non-government companies to diversify its portfolio.
The padding on the inside is actually what protected my brain.
Mittman still has the Army helmet he was wearing the day he was attacked. The helmet's lining is made by a North Carolina company that employs blind people, some of whom were laid off because of this policy. Without that helmet, Mittman could have died. He's hoping the issue will convince people not to underestimate the talents of visually impaired people.
The person who does our social media is completely blind, using adaptive software, adaptive equipment on the computer. So the idea that somebody who has lost their vision can't perform a task or can't perform the standard is just not true.
Adam Pinsker joins us now for a little bit more. Thanks for that report. Yeah. Have there been any more resolutions to those disputes?
Actually, this morning I heard from Senator Young's office, a spokesperson says that the senator is still looking for a solution. They think that the House may actually have some bipartisan legislation that will look to some sort of resolution for this issue, but nothing specific yet. I think it's one of the few issues on Capitol Hill that both parties agree have to be fixed. So,
what other services could be affected at Bosma regarding if they lose these government contracts?
It's more than just the contracts, actually. Bosma helps train folks at the county level, people who are visually impaired, for jobs that they can do with their disability. So if you lose the revenue from those contracts, then it's really going to affect how much time and effort they can spend training people to do these kinds of jobs. So it's pretty widespread. Almost all of Indiana's counties have someone from Bosma or someone from one of these organizations training people to do these jobs.
We just have a few seconds left here, but what can be done now? What's next?
I think we also heard from Congresswoman Walorski up in South Bend. She's also written to the VA, so on the House side, to see if there's any kind of resolution as well. So they are working with the administration to try to get a resolution. It's just going to take some time.
Adam, thank you very much.
Yeah.